Shut up and sit down.
Back with more. Charlie Berens is with us. And Charlie, when you go out and you're performing, as the radius go, let's say we start in Milwaukee where you're in, and you go out in the radius. At what point do you find that people are completely baffled by who this person is, and it's unrecognizable to them?
Oh, well, so the funny thing is when I've toured, people who have gone out and seen me know me, so they were fans. So it's always been like kind of a home audience, which it's nice in a lot of senses, but it also, as a comedian, we're used to, doing the clubs in LA where like nobody's going to automatically like you when you walk up on the stage. So you got to earn it a little bit more. But I started doing that Wisconsin bit in Los Angeles, and right there, people related to it. And that's what inspired me to do the videos to begin with. But I think they related for a couple of reasons. One, they're either from the Midwest or they know someone from the Midwest. And I think there were some pop culture things that made it kind of stick. Like Fargo obviously has like a very exaggerated accent as well. And then Making a Murderer was out, and people, Mandswag is actually close to where that took place. So people had these sort of cultural touch points to a degree. So everybody gets it to an extent. You can do like 5 to 10 minutes of, pure Wisconsin material, I would say, on any stage in the country and be good. But, can you carry a whole show revolving around that? I think you want to change it up the more you get out. But a lot of the things, a lot of the bits do still hold their own, I think. So,
Charlie, you tell a story that when you were out in LA, the first job that you got hired for, a guy from Wisconsin hired you. And it reminded me that John was out in LA doing the Wipeout thing, and that whole crew was from Wisconsin. Did you guys ever cross paths? What's going on?
We're secretly dating. You've had no idea, did you, Trevor? I'm actually the ninth of the 12 Berens kids. You had no idea. I'm actually the ninth one.
Charlie, who hired you out there from Wisconsin?
That was Mark Herzog. Mark Herzog, he's from Elm Grove. His family's from Elm Grove, and great guy. He's got a production company out there called Herzog and Company, and they did like all the decade stuff on CNN, like the 60s, 70s, 80s. And then when I was there, it was a lot of behind the scenes production company type work. So I got coffee, but I also would go out on set and do like bring the cameras or whatever. And oddly enough, this is a fun story. Like the only reason I got promoted from like office PA, like the coffee getter, to set PA, which is where you get coffee on set basically, is because I had a minivan that I could move the equipment and they wouldn't have to pay for like a car rental or whatever, because I just had this minivan. The whole reason I had the minivan was because I accidentally shot it with my dad's shotgun and he made me buy it from him. So, that's a very Wisconsin story for how I progressed in my career. Most people are like, yeah, I worked hard. I got extra good at making that coffee. And I was like, it's always going to be hot and on time. They saw I was dependable. I was like, I just shot my dad's minivan. They needed the extra space. So luckily I shot out the back bucket seat and, it wasn't in the way. So
unreal.
Why did you have the firearm in the van, and how'd that get crossways?
Yeah, that's a whole other story, isn't it? Well, we went out pheasant hunting, me and my dad, and my brothers, and my brother, did this thing, which is frowned upon in hunting. He forgot to unload his gun. And so we got home, and then, oh my gosh, and now I'm seeing like my batteries running on this. So I'm going to tell the rest of the story as I walk to get to my charger.
Sure.
But we got home, and my dad was like, pull out the birds, okay? And then he was like, pull out the clothes, the hunting clothes, and then pull out the gun. And so I pulled out the gun, and I pulled all of them. One went off, and it went boom, and it literally made the shotgun seat in this minivan a shotgun seat, with the big holes. Right. And so my dad was pissed. I mean, he's a big hunting safety guy. So you would imagine he's not happy about this. And he comes out, and I'm trying to blame it on on my brother Andy. You know, I'm like, this was Andy's gun, and it was. The problem is, though, I was holding literally a smoking gun, so that didn't that didn't play too well. And so anyway, he said, you just bought a minivan, and he sold it to me at the Kelly Blue Book level marked excellent, because apparently there was no place to check. Has Miner's shotgun blast on the interior. So, you know, you win some, you lose some, you know?
Oh, my God.
Did Andy get dinged for any of that? Like, you feel like maybe he should have charged, you should have paid a little in there on that cost.
Should have. No, instead he's paying residuals in me talking about it publicly every chance I can get, just so everybody knows the score. Yeah.
Jesus, that guy.
I know. Jeez Louise.
It is amazing.
Go ahead.
It's amazing what you can fall into with that kind of thing with the shot. Because I like to tell people I was captain of my college track team at the University of Missouri, but it had nothing to do with ability. We had so many guys on the team that were from Nigeria, and we would take these vans from the university, which now they don't let the kids drive them, but they'd be like, Anderson, Wisconsin driver's license, valid, pretty good kid, GPA 3.4. You're a captain. Get in the car and drive. So it's not quite the coffee thing, but it's very much in the same line of, you know, it sounds like maybe we're really good at this.
Yeah.
And as it turns out, we just have a vehicle, and that makes everybody's life easier.
Right. And we're really subpar at best. But, you know, that vehicle wins it out day in, day out.
Charlie, you've been telling stories about how you view Wisconsin through the lens of yourself and other people. I'm curious, though. You went to UW. We launched Inside Wisconsin just over a month ago with Barry Alvarez. Tell us the story of Charlie's time in Madison that mom and dad won't want you to tell. We want to hear it.
Well, I can't tell you that. You know, I'm not old enough yet to not get grounded. Okay, I'm still working my way out of that. No,
sure.
So we lived initially my sophomore year. We lived right across from the DoubleTree. So you know, right on Johnson. We lived right across from the DoubleTree in a triplex. Well, so we had an enjoyment, I guess you would call it, for Carlo Rossi, and we were also musical gentlemen by nature. So what we did was we would finish the bottles of Carlo Rossi and then take them to the basement. Well, first we would fill them with a little bit of water, and then took them to the basement because we wanted to develop this big chimes thing, you know? And the problem is when you fill a bunch of Carlo Rossi bottles, and I mean a bunch, I mean like over 100, with different levels of water, and you get the tune or whatever, but they're sitting down there for months and months and months. Well, sometimes that water spills, and sometimes it's actually a very conducive environment for mosquitoes. So then when you have a mosquito outbreak in your home and you just can't figure out where they're coming from, and then when you take everybody down for the, you know, weekly chimes event in the basement, and everybody comes up looking like, you know, they just got the chicken pox. Well, you know, they did something wrong. So, yeah, that was interesting. We learned a lot about, breeding habitats that year. So that was fun.
So you had a jug band, essentially.
It was a jug band. I thought it was pretty creative, to be honest with you. Now, the end picture of that with all those empty bottles, you know, realizing, and Carlo Rossi is not something you want to expose your liver to on a regular basis. So I can't recommend this for your viewership out there at all, but, you know.
This is why Trevor always gets his wine in a box. It avoids all those problems.
How Wisconsin is that?
Yeah,
avoid the temptation.
Now, were you a successful Wisconsin student there at Madison, or did you do like everybody else, had to take that freshman break after a while when we learned that sometimes the Carlo Rossi and the school doesn't work, and I'm going to go home for a while, completely free of shame happens, and then we go back, which is also a very Wisconsin and Madison thing to do. And then we finish up on the second time.
Yeah.
Did you go straight through?
No, I went straight through.
Yeah, that's big time.
Yeah, I put the nose to the grindstone, or at least I got through it anyway. I think I did okay. I don't really remember my GPA. I don't remember it being fantastic, but it wasn't bad, but it really was not fantastic. But
I gave a graduation speech one time, and I've said to people, you know, here's the amazing thing. Now that you're getting diploma on this day, is I have never once, I'm 56 now, never once had any employer ask me to see it.
Me either. Yeah, no.
I could have said I was from Harvard and had my master's from MIT, and nobody would have.
So funny.
Nobody has once asked me to say, "Did you really go to Missouri, or did you just say that?"
Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny that we put so much of a value on that, and that's kind of the case with a lot of places? I think it's good and it's bad. It's bad that it costs so much to not necessarily need it, but it's good to show that you can really get experience. It kind of democratizes a lot of things if you can just get experience and what you want to do and really focus on that. I think that's good, you know?
So, Charlie, being in showbiz and you came from journalism, when you posted that first Manitowoc Minute video, if my notes serve me right, June 19th, 2017, did you have any clue? I understand the idea of breaks, right? You got your break, and maybe you've had numerous breaks before that, but it seems different today. What were your expectations, and how blown away were you, and maybe are you today, that it's just never ending with you in Wisconsin and all of this?
Yeah, I mean, I look back on that because that was right after I had done that set at the Comedy Store in LA that kind of inspired the video bit. And actually, there was a guy in that audience who I was like, "Is anyone from the Midwest?" And he was like, "Me, I'm from Manitowoc," and I named it after him, you know. And so, like, when I was first putting out the first episode, first of all, I was like, I don't know if this is going to be any good. You know, I don't know if people are going to be offended because I don't think people know I'm from Wisconsin and know that this is just I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure how people would feel, but I put it out, and it was like the best viewed thing I had done in a long time. The only other thing that was that well viewed was if Jack Dawson was originally from Wisconsin,
Right.
where I changed the voiceover. And so then it was like I knew that I could do this again next week. And luckily, since it was news-based, I was pretty well accustomed to editing and shooting and writing and telling jokes. And so I felt like all the skills that I had been building up and unsuccessfully doing for a number of years were finally coming together into this weird way. And I was equipped to, you know, handle the fact that a lot of people wanted to see this again. Whereas if I didn't have those skills, it would have been so hard to turn another video in the next week.
I want to know about the one before the Packers game at Lambeau Field here recently during the playoffs. That was top drawer. How long did that take you to put together?
Are you talking about the one where I'm getting emotional or the one where I'm with Wayne Larrabee?
The emotional one.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So that one, you know, that was a minute. We had a rough idea going in, but then me and producer Max Lesson I work with, we were on our way up to Lambeau, and we were like, what if we did something else? Because this idea we had wasn't playing. And then I was thinking of just like some sort of deep emotional, like parallel it with like one of those sad breakup films. So that was the idea, and we did it. And then shooting it, honestly, it edited together, I think, pretty quickly, because when a song kind of drives it or when it's emotional, I think it comes together a little quicker because you're very in it and invested in it.
Right.
And it just makes it, I don't know, you get a little bit of a buzz when you're like, oh, this is going to be really good. You're kind of more excited to put it together. So that one came together pretty quick, I believe. And yeah, so it was just a lot of fun.
A lot of fun.
Yeah.
We'll wrap it up with Charlie Berens from the Manitowoc Minute and pretty much every other video online in Wisconsin that has like 7 million views. That's what you do best.
Oh, thank you.
More with Charlie here on Inside Wisconsin in just a bit.
Shut up and sit down.